Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz, and this is Ron's Bank Shot Breakdown. We're going to go over 5 college basketball games for Tuesday, January 9th, 2024. Now, if you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to put your college basketball picks in the comments section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, including my college basketball bank shot best bet, you can find us at the premium picks tab at pickdawgz.com. There's also a link in the description. Alrighty, let's get into it. Here are the games for Tuesday in college basketball. First up, we go to the Big 12 as Texas takes on Cincinnati. Now, this is not the biggest card in college basketball, but a lot of great games, a lot of Power 5 matchups in college hoops, and this is one of them. Texas-Cincinnati is going to be 7 p.m. Eastern on ESPN+. Now, you worry a little bit about a letdown spot for Cincinnati after its nice upset victory on the road at BYU, a 71-60 victory for their first win in conference play and first win as a Big 12 team. But I still think I like Cincinnati in this spot. You know, the Longhorns lost to Texas Tech in their last game, a double-digit loss, 78-67. We were on Texas Tech in that ball game plus the points, and to lose that game by double digits as a pretty sizable favorite in that one, not what you want to see. And I've mentioned I don't love this Texas team this season, shot quality-wise, not a great team. Fundamentally, solid, but this team has not really been on the road much this year. In fact, they only had one true road game, and that was against Marquette, and that was an absolute blowout. That was an 86-65 final score. And I don't trust the Longhorns on the road in this spot. I think Cincinnati, the much better team here, playing great basketball, of course, with that win over BYU. Cincinnati has a really big edge on the glass in this game, especially because Texas is right around, the middle of the pack in the country in defensive rebounding percentage, but Cincinnati, a top 10 offensive rebounding team. So even if the shots aren't falling at a great rate for the Bearcats, they should be able to get a lot of second chance looks in this game. I like Cincinnati on both sides of the ball here. Give me Cincinnati. I'm going to lay the points. Next up, we go to the ACC as Wake Forest takes on Florida State. This one's going to be 7 p.m. Eastern on the ACC network. Both teams coming off nice wins in their last games, and Florida State now 2-1 in conference play, back-to-back ACC wins against Georgia Tech and Virginia Tech. They get their third straight home game in conference play here. While Wake Forest, they played a home game against Miami last time out. It was a really exciting game, went to overtime, and Wake Forest was able to win and cover the number in the end, 86-82 the final. Wake Forest is on a 9-game win streak now, but they only have two true road games under their belt this season. The first one was a loss outright to Georgia. Not a great loss in my opinion. I don't love that Georgia team. That was a 3-point loss. Their second game was a win over Boston College, but only by 6 points. And I'm also not in love with that Boston College team, so I'm not sure how impressive that victory was. I think this is going to be the toughest road game that Wake Forest has had this season. I think Florida State is underrated, undervalued right now. The 8-6 record, but like I said, 2 straight ACC wins. A team is turning it around after a pretty tough start to the season. They played a much tougher schedule so far. When you look at the strength of schedule in non-conference play, I think Florida State is more battle-tested. And I like the fact that Florida State forces a lot of turnovers. Wake Forest does a good job of taking care of the basketball, but again, they played a majority of their games at home. Going on the road is a different story when it comes to taking care of the basketball. I do think Florida State's defense may make the Demon Deacons a little bit more uncomfortable than normal in this game. So I like Florida State at home. It's a tough place to play, and after that exciting, emotional win for Wake Forest, I think we can see a little bit of a letdown spot here from the Demon Deacons. Give me Florida State here. I'm going to take the points. Next up, we see Ohio and Bowling Green. This one's going to be 7 p.m. Eastern on ESPN+. Now, Bowling Green, we faded them in their last game against Akron, and while, Bowling Green played well in the first half of that game, it was a complete disaster in the second half, and Akron went on to win by 16 points, so covering the spread by, a good margin, 83-67 the final score. And while Bowling Green returns home here, where, a large majority of their win streak was in home games, I still don't love this team, honestly. I think they're one of the weaker teams in the MAC this season. And while Ohio has not been great to start the year, and they went through a rough stretch where they lost 5 of 6, I still think the Bobcats, an experienced team, a really good head coach in Jeff Bowles, and a team I wouldn't give up on in the MAC right now. We saw them earn a nice double-digit victory against Northern Illinois in their last game. I think Ohio is the better team in this one, and I think there's also a few players on this roster that are having slow starts to the season shooting the basketball. Ohio is ranked right now 190th in the country in three-point shooting after last year being 25th in the nation as a team. And, a few guys like Jalen Hunter, who's shooting 28.6% from the perimeter. Last year, he was 71 of 176 from 3. That's 40%. I think he's going to have a much better season shooting the ball as the season continues. The Creighton transfer, Sharif Mitchell, another guy shooting 22% from 3. Last year, even though it was a limited sample size, he was at 35%. So I think he'll also improve as the season goes along. Now, Ohio is missing A.J. Brown quite a bit right now. He's been out for the last few games with an injury, but I still think the Bobcats have enough here on both ends of the court to win this game on the road. Give me Ohio. You can take them on the money line. That's what I'll do in this spot. Next up, we go to the Atlantic 10 as Richmond takes on Loyola Chicago. This one's going to be 8 p.m. Eastern. This game's also going to be on ESPN+. Now, I think this is a bad matchup for Richmond. It's on the road where, the Spiders have not really played too many true road games this year, and when they have played them, they lost. They've lost all 3 of their true road games to Boston College by 7, failing to cover the number in that game, lost to Wichita State by 12, and lost to Northern Iowa by 5. You would think Richmond could compete with teams like Northern Iowa and Wichita State, but lost both of those games pretty decisively. And I don't love this spot here against this Loyola Chicago team because Loyola Chicago does a really good job at taking care of the defensive glass. They're 47th in defensive rebounding percentage. Richmond, a very bad offensive rebounding team. This is a team that doesn't really worry about the offensive glass, I should say. They're very much held to 1 shot per trip. They don't turn the ball over much. They get a lot of shots up, but they don't get a lot of second chance looks. And Loyola Chicago should be able to keep them to 1 shot per trip virtually every possession in this game. The other thing is Richmond really relies on their 2-point field goals. They score a ton of their points, 55.6% of their points from 2-point field goals. It's 68th most in the country. But Loyola Chicago has one of the best 2-point defenses in the nation, 7th best, holding teams to 42.7% field goal percentage from their 2-point field goals. I think it's going to be a problem for Richmond. I think they're going to be more uncomfortable offensively than they usually are, especially on the road and in a tough place to play at Loyola Chicago. I think the Ramblers, a younger team, kind of a program that's rebuilding last couple of seasons. I think this is a type of game that they got to grab. They're playing good basketball right now, 4-game win streak. I like to grab the W in this game. Give me Loyola Chicago. I'm going to take them on the money line. Next up, we see the final game for Tuesday's card in college basketball. It's going to be New Mexico and UNLV. This one's going to be a 10:30 Eastern start time on Fox Sports 1. Now, UNLV, I got to give them credit because while they lost their last game to San Diego State and failed to cover the number in the end, it was a spot where UNLV had a disaster start to that game. They were down 20-7 after the first 10 minutes. It was really ugly early, and you were on the road against the runner-ups from last year in San Diego State. It could have been an absolute blowout, but UNLV, virtually went score for score with San Diego State the rest of the way, the final 30 minutes. In fact, they won the final 30 minutes of that ball game, and I think now returning home in a pretty good spot here against a New Mexico team that we've talked about. I don't really love backing them on the road. When they're playing in the pit, they have a huge home court advantage, and they win a ton of games, cover a ton of games. But on the road so far this season, we've seen New Mexico, their first road game, get blown out to St. Mary's by 14 points. Then, in their second true road game against New Mexico State, a team that they had previously beaten this season by 44 points, New Mexico only beat the Aggies by 1 point in the second meeting on the road. And then their last true road game, we faded them against Colorado State. And New Mexico, while it was a pretty competitive game, still lost that game and failed to cover, 76-68 the final score. So New Mexico is now 0-3 straight up and against the number on the road this season. And they're facing a UNLV team that I think is battle-tested. They learned a lot from that game at San Diego State. They're a fundamentally sound team, not a great rebounding team, which would be my big concern, but they take care of the basketball and they force turnovers just like New Mexico does. So I think UNLV hangs in there in this game. I think they compete. I'm going to take them plus the points and sprinkle on the money line with the Rebels in this one. And that's it. Those are the games for Tuesday in college hoops. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. And don't forget to put your college basketball picks in the comments section below. Again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pick Dawgz Premium, and there's a link in the description. As always, this is Romanelli. Good luck.